Hello everyone, welcome to our online training lesson number 2. In this lesson we'll be going over the normal racing procedure for fleet racing. Obviously you can race in any way you want. You can make up your own rules as long as everyone agrees on them, but most of the time we use the international rules of sailing, which are set out and they're quite freely available. And they're also used all over the world, which is quite cool. So generally racing is the way we do it. There's a start line and the whole course. That's a series of buoys that you must round, or marks, and then a finish line. So in the beginning, all the boats will line up behind the finish line and sail around a bit, and then when the start gun goes or the flag drops, then all the boats will cross the start line, race around all the marks, and then cross the finish line, which may or may not be the same line as the start line. Okay, so let's go over each part of racing. In the beginning you have a start. So in this picture you can see it's a start. The start line is normally between the bridge and a pin. The pin is just a little mark or buoy in the water. In this picture you can't see the pin. It would be on the right of the screen, maybe over here. And the bridge, in this case it's a bridge boat, is Ronin, the catamaran. You can tell Ronin is the bridge boat because they have this orange flag displayed. That orange flag always means that boat is the bridge. And the actual start line is a line between the mast of this orange flag and the pin, which is over here. There's a whole timing sequence, a start sequence to begin a race, and I'll go over that now. In this picture you can see that these 3 boats at least have crossed the start line and they are now racing. They're beating upwind, and that's normally most starts we do. You start on a beat, so you'll go into the wind initially. Okay, this is the starting procedure that we use. These are all the flags, and I'll go over what all the flags mean now. This table that I've put here, this is a copy of what's normally found in the sailing instructions. The sailing instructions just set out how the race is going to be run, and this table shows the class flags. So in this particular race that I got the instructions for this table from, there are 4 classes, class 1, 2, 3, 4, and they've each got a separate class flag. So when you see if you see any of these flags raised, you'll know which class is starting soon. So here I've given the start sequence, and because this class flag is raised, you can see it's class 3 that will be racing. This is obviously just to differentiate. If you've got a few classes of boats on the water, you don't want them all to start at the same time, so you have different class flags to start different start sequences for different classes. Okay, the normal start procedure is a 5-minute procedure. So 5 minutes before the race starts, the class flag will be hoisted. In this case it's this flag, and I'll put a little up arrow so you can see it's being hoisted. If you want to be technical, the 5-minute time until the start starts as soon as this class flag hits the top of the mast. Okay, and there will be a short sound signal as this flag is raised. And as I said before, this means as soon as the class flag goes up, this means 5 minutes until the start of that class. Okay, And then at 4 minutes to go, the P flag is raised, and that's this flag over here. It's called P flag, or it can be called prep flag, because it's preparing for the race. When that flag goes up, also as soon as it hits the top of the mast, that means 4 minutes to go until the start of the race. There'll be another short sound signal when this flag goes up, and this flag is another meaning that by the time this flag goes up, if any boat is not on the race course and not on the water and behind the line, then they will not be racing. I'm not so sure about being in front of the line. I think if you're in front of the line and this flag goes up, then you can still get behind the line. But I know if your boat's not on the water when this sound goes, then you will not be allowed to race in the race. Okay, then you've got these two flags up, and if you see these two flags up, you know you've got less than 4 minutes until the race starts. When the P flag comes down, there's a long sound signal, and that means there's 1 minute until the race starts. Okay, and then from the 1 minute you'll sail around, all behind the line still. Again, at any point, if any boat crosses the line onto the race course side of the line, they'll have to come back to the side that's not the race course side. And then the final flag to drop will be the class flag. When that flag drops, there'll be a short sound signal, and after that all boats will be allowed to cross the line and start racing. Alright, so mark roundings. Normally there's a race course that's set out before the time. At False Bay Yacht Club there's a course card that's given out, and that's a list of all the marks in the order that you must round them, and along with each mark there's a little direction given, which is either the letter P or the letter S. That means port or starboard. So if you look in this situation with all these boats over here coming towards the mark, they'll round the mark, leaving the mark on their port side. So that would be written as round mark 1, for example, if this was called mark 1, and then there'd be a little P to say leave the mark to port. Yeah, you aren't allowed to hit these marks. If you do hit the marks, you'll have to take a penalty, which I'll talk about now. Yeah. Okay, when doing the course, it's important that all the marks are rounded in the correct order and the correct direction. And there's a rule, an analogy that they use, that if you are towing a string behind your boat when you're racing, that from the time you start the race, around all the marks, and to the time you finish the race, if you took that string and pulled it tight, then that string would round every single mark in the right direction and in the right order. This is to ensure that for example, if you rounded a mark the wrong way and then turn around and rounded it again, you must actually round it twice. The first time you undo the rounding that you've just done, and the second time to actually round the mark. And that's the string rule. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that right, but you can always send me a message if you get a bit confused about that. Okay, and then after you've rounded all the marks in the right order, you finish, normally between the bridge boat and the pin again. Here's an example from sailing instructions of some courses that might be given. Yeah, so let's look at this one first. here it says start, and here's the start line with the bridge boat, and they've put the little flag there to show it's the bridge boat. And here's the pin. You'll then start you'll start behind this line, start off here, and first round mark 1. You can see again this is saying the same thing, and I'll go through at the same time what this means as what this picture shows. So it says start, and you start here, then you round mark 1 and round mark 1. Over here there should be a little P to indicate that you're rounding to port. You then round mark 2, also to port, mark 3 to port. You can see that here and here as well, mark 2 and 3. Mark 2 again, mark 3 again, and then you finish. In this situation, the start line and finish line are different. In this course over here, we've got something different. First of all, you can see that the start line and the finish line are the same line. Then we've got something different. The first mark you round is mark 1 over here, and that's the top mark. Then you've got what's called mark 1A, or it's called the offset mark. This is to split the fleet between boats coming upwind and boats going downwind, just to give a little bit of room, because if you just have a situation where you have boats coming up to mark 1 and coming down, you might have boats coming upwind colliding with boats that are coming downwind, and that's not a very nice situation. So they just put this little mark on the side called the offset mark to make sure that the boats coming downwind are a little bit further away than the boats coming upwind. Then we've got the situation at the bottom here, which is 2 marks over here. So it's 2S and 2P, that means starboard and port. This situation we call a gate. So if it's stated that there's a gate that you must round, you can either round to this mark called 2S or 2P. The important thing is that you must go through the 2 marks and then carry on with the race. So in this picture they haven't given an order of marks, but how it would normally go is that you'd start, round mark 1, round the offset mark, come down, choose whichever mark you want to round between 2S and 2P, and round mark 1 again, round mark 1A again. Again, you choose whichever mark you want to round, 2S or 2P, then you round mark 1 and 1A again, and then you finish. Here's a good example of this, that even though this gate is in the way of this final leg between mark 1A, or the offset mark, and the finish, because these 2 marks are not part of the leg that you're sailing from the offset mark to the finish, you can either go through the gate, you can go around the gate, either side, it doesn't matter. If a mark isn't on your current leg that you're sailing, then you can completely ignore it. And then finishing, which I discussed here, the boat has finished if any part of the boat or the equipment or the crew in the normal position have crossed the line. So on our boats we've got a pulpit in the front of the boat, which is the most forward part of the boat. As soon as that crosses the line, then the boat's finished. Okay, penalties. I'll go over the racing rules of sailing in another video, but just briefly, if any of the rules are broken, I mentioned touching a mark, that justifies a penalty, or other rules such as if you collide with another boat and you're in the wrong, for example the port starboard rule or windward leeward rule, then you should take a penalty. If you don't take a penalty, then you can be disqualified. A penalty is a 360-degree turn that you go through a tack and a jibe on your boat. Sometimes you have to do 2 turns as a penalty, but those are all discussed in the racing rules. You have to take your penalty, but before the end of the race, but suggested that you take your penalty at the time of the incident so that everyone can see that you've taken a penalty for that incident. Yeah, this picture I just put here randomly. It's not actually a boat doing a penalty, but the mainsail is flogging and not trimmed properly, and it kind of looks bad, so it's kind of related to a penalty. And yeah, for practice, now that we're not on the water and not sailing, there's this app, Virtual Regatta. I've mentioned it before, but I just thought I'd show it to you here so you can see the spelling and everything. It's quite a cool game. It's available on the internet or as an app on phones. Yeah, you can see the picture here of how it looks. In this situation, the boats that are sailing are NACRA 17s, which are, I'm pretty sure they're the Olympic class at the moment. One of the Olympic classes. And yeah, you've got all your controls, so your arrows on the left to steer your boat. The sails, I think they trim themselves, but the race is really good for learning your rules of racing and yeah, just generally practicing sailing. You've also got buttons on the side here for raising the spinnaker or dropping the spinnaker. Here's a button for flogging the sails if you want to slow down before the start, for example. If you don't want to cross the line, then you flog your sails and your boat doesn't move. And yeah, here's a button to tack or jibe, which is quite nice. Yeah, it's a really fun game. I've enjoyed it. You can play it online or offline. I mentioned in the other video the ways that you can play with your friends. So yeah, hopefully you try that and have lots of fun. Cool, if you have any questions about racing or about Virtual Regatta or any of these things, please send me a message. Thanks.